Hey everybody, Erin from the Impatient Gardener, coming to you from a totally different location that you usually see me in. I'm actually standing outside the office where I work every day, and we're going to do some beautification here. And I've got two plants that are going to feature prominently in this that I'm really excited about. And it was a very tough call to bring these here and not plant these at my house because they're both great, but I'll explain to you why they're going here in a second. So as you might be able to tell, this office is basically right on the main drag here. So there is a lot of visibility here. And actually, I'll show you this area so you can kind of get a better feel for what we're doing here. But this walkway is actually like a main walkway, even though it's our front door to the office. It's where a lot of people kind of cut through. So I want this to be pretty, and I take a little bit of pride in how this looks up front. So both of the plants that I'm going to be featuring here are from the Southern Living Plant Collection, and they have partnered with me on this video. And I always think it's kind of a trip when I use some plants from the Southern Living Plant Collection, because you wouldn't think that up here in my Zone 5 that this would have anything to do with plants from the Southern Living collection. But what's really great about this is that that collection has some really interesting plants that you aren't going to find in a lot of other places for alls that'll work in basically any zone. And these are two of them. So the first one we're going to be planting is this beautiful white wedding hydrangea. Now this is a Panicle Hydrangea. This plant is actually super hardy. It's actually hardy all the way down to Zone 3 and up to Zone 8. So it is going to be able to handle these conditions perfectly. It's a super tough plant. But what I love about this hydrangea is that it gets absolutely covered in flowers. And unlike honestly many of them, it's just the whole thing is just covered in flowers. So this is full sun to part shade, and the location we're putting it here is probably, you know, like part sun, I would say. Just a little bit of protection from the hot sun and reflection coming off the street. This is going to get 4 to 6 feet tall, 3 to 5 feet wide. I kind of doubt it'll get quite that big here. I would suspect kind of on the lower range in this location. And you know, the really nice thing, like a lot of Panicle hydrangeas, is that this has really nice sturdy stems, so we're not going to have to worry about flopping over a walkway or anything like that. So that is white wedding hydrangea. Very good hydrangea. The next plant we're going to be planting here is this beauty right here. This is Forever Goldie Arborvitae. It's Thuya plicata. And the plicata part of that is really important because plicata thuyas tend to be more deer resistant. In fact, this specific variety is named in Karen Chapman's book, Deer Resistant Design, as a good one to look for if you deal with deer. I would still protect it for sure because deer don't read the rules. It shouldn't be quite as tasty to them as other kinds. Now this is a great size too, about 10 feet tall in 10 years, something like that, 3 to 3.5 feet wide, which is a nice compact size for an evergreen, and it has this beautiful kind of gold coloration to it, which is obviously just different and more exciting than a lot of other arborvitaes that you might have. The other thing with this that's kind of notable is that once it's established, it doesn't need a ton of water. So if you're looking at a situation where you don't want to be a slave to watering, or you live in an area that's a little bit drier, look to something like this. Now you will absolutely need to water this well for the first year for sure, but then once it's established, you know, you can ease back a little bit on that and it won't require as much water. Okay, so because of our location here, we are in an interesting spot for planting something. So let me show you how this is going to work. We're going to start with this hydrangea. It's hard to show you with this classic car parked right here in the main parking spot, but it's good to show you what this is typically like. So this is a parking lot right here, right outside my office, and the front door is ahead. And like I said, a lot of people will cut through this little area here. And as you come up here, this is all, it's a bit of a weedy mess that the city is supposed to be taking care of. So when you come up here, this is where our property starts. And I'm going to be putting the hydrangea right in this area because, first of all, people shouldn't be walking through this bed, and they don't, generally speaking, unless there's a giant car parked here. But I thought this would make this whole area so much brighter and more beautiful and just really pleasing because we've got these giant yews over here. So I'll show you it from this direction as well, so you can kind of see. Now again, That is a car with a lot of front end on it, so it's kind of hanging over quite a bit. But there's plenty of room right here for this to grow. I'm going to tuck it in, and I will be pruning that U up a little bit. It's gotten a little rangy over the years. So, so we have a bit of a situation here, though. This is probably going to be really crappy soil underneath here, and there's clearly weird weed barrier there. So I'm going to have to move all this mulch, cut through that weed barrier, and see what we have underneath there and amend that soil appropriately. So as usual with a project, there was a bit of a glitch, which was this was all sand and gravel when I started digging out. So I've gone and gotten some garden soil bagged from the hardware store, and I brought some compost mix to put in there and built that up in the hole, so that should be good. So we've got some decent soil for this to grow into. So while I was off getting garden soil and mulch, the guy with the fancy classic car moved his car. I don't think he was very happy about me working this close to it. He's a guest at the hotel across the street, and I suspect he looked out his window and saw somebody digging right next to his really nice classic car and moved it, but I think we're all good. All right, hydrangea planted. Looking great in that spot, I think. It's gonna look so cool here when it gets going. And now we gotta do that Arborvitae. So the Arborvitae is actually gonna be going right here in this container that sits by our front door, because I think it's gonna look really great here. Now this is kind of an odd spot. It would be full sun were it not for the big overhang here. So it does get a lot of morning sun. It probably gets full sun until maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then after that it's just really bright shade. So I think this is actually going to do okay in this, and especially since it's in a container, I think that'll be better for it because there won't be as much reflected heat going on. Now this is a very tall container. I think this is it's only about a 16-inch square, maybe 18-inch square container. It's pretty small for this. This is a seasonal item in here. It does have a false bottom in it, so I think that goes down to like, here. There's quite a bit of soil depth there, but the whole thing isn't soil. So I think it's actually going to work really well here. Now, this is not going to spend the whole year in here. I mean, even though it would be beautiful in winter, I like this plant too much to trust it here, because I do think you're taking a bit of a risk with an evergreen in a container for winter. So it will be moving to my house come early fall. So it's got plenty of time to get established in its new home there. I did dig out all the old potting soil out of here because I want this to have really nice potting soil in here. And I am going to throw in a little bit of that compost blend and some biochar as well. I'm just going to loosen these roots just so that they're not circling around. It's such a good color. I love it. Tell you what, I'm making a big mess. All right, that's that part. Now we got to get something else. Okay, now I'm throwing in a little bit of time-release fertilizer. Not so much for the tree as for the annuals that I'm going to work in here. Now, the key with the annuals here is that I don't want anything that's going to get so tall that it kills out the bottom of this shrub. So I really want things that are weeping out of this pot. So for that, I have a couple of begonias. I find that begonias do really well in this spot because of the sun/shade situation. Now, these are really little, which is exactly what I wanted to be able to fit around that root ball. I figured if I had really big annuals in there, it'd be hard to get them in. So I've got 2 begonias here. Both of these are sort of trailer types. So then we have Mullenbeckia, creeping wire vine, which I find to be an extremely just fun plant to add texture to containers. I wish more people kind of knew about it because it's really good. For just when you don't want like a big thick weeper, but you want like a little something there. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, right over the side. Okay, the bottom is, not exactly impactful right now, but there's a little something there and I think it'll grow in well. Okay, let's take a look at what it all looks like all finished here. I don't know which I love more. I know I'm going to love that hydrangea long term. That is going to be so beautiful. And you can see there's plenty big enough walkway here for people to get through. And I think I've given that hydrangea plenty of room to grow without anybody getting in the way. I think this Forever Goldie is exactly the right thing for this spot. I really love this project because it was pretty bad here before, right? So I think this shows how like 2 plants can make a huge difference in this area. Also, it's kind of nice to give this area some love because I'll be honest, I do plant these planters outside of here every year, but I use whatever's left to the season. So it doesn't get a lot of love for me, to be honest, and it feels good to have it look really good. So once we get that other planter planted up, and I will use some leftovers in that, I think this is going to look so good. And like I said, this baby's coming home with me in early fall. The hydrangea will stay, and I hope it will thrive here and look just really stunning. All right, I hope you guys are planting something fun in your garden today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.